Well, hello and welcome to Producer Dan. I'm Dan. Thanks very much for stopping by the channel today. So in today's video, I wanted to introduce you to the newest addition to my studio, the M-Audio Oxygen Pro 49 Midi Controller. The M-Audio Oxygen Pro 49 is part of the Oxygen Pro series, starting with the Mini Oxygen Pro with 32 mini keys. They have the 25, the 49, and the 61. Now, one of the reasons why I chose this particular MIDI keyboard is that it comes with starter versions of these three DAWs: Pro Tools First M-Audio Edition, Ableton Lite Live version 11, and MPC Beats. It also includes powerful virtual instruments, Hybrid 3, which is a multi-oscillator synthesizer, Velvet, which is a vintage electric piano, Mini Grand acoustic piano, Expand 2 multi-timbral workstation, Vacuum analog synth, Boom vintage drum machine, and DB33, the classic organ. Now, another reason I chose this particular keyboard is the price. It's only $259 and it includes everything I just mentioned and all of these fully programmable pads, knobs, faders, and 49 semi-weighted velocity-sensitive keys with aftertouch. I'm going to go over everything here on the front and the back panel with you. I'm going to explain to you how to set it up and how to use it with your DAW. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that you should do after purchasing your M-Audio Oxygen Pro MIDI controller, no matter what size you purchase, is make sure you have the proper operating system on your computer. The minimum system requirements for the PC is Windows 8, and for Mac it's version 10.13.6. So make sure you update your system so you don't have any problems using the product. And the next thing you're going to do is go to maudio.com to register your keyboard. If you already have an account, just sign in with your email address and password and add the product to your product list and they'll give you the software. If you don't have an account, set one up, log in. You can register new products, edit your profile, and change your password. Register your product here. And here's one thing I wanted to point out. It's kind of important. They have a long list of the M-Audio products. And you just want to make sure you choose the Oxygen Pro, whether it's the 25, the 49, or the 61, or the Mini. Make sure it says Pro and not just Oxygen, because they're two different keyboards with two different softwares. So you want to make sure you get the right software. And here you'll add the serial number, which you'll find underneath the keyboard and also on the back of the box. It does ask for the purchase date, so make sure you have a receipt so you know when you bought it, and register the product. And then you can go to My Products, and here you'll have all of the essential software for your specific keyboard, whether it's Mac or Windows. So after you download everything, you'll have the M-Audio Software Manager somewhere in your applications here. So you'll go ahead and open that, and from here you can download the MPC Beats if you want, the Ableton Live Lite, the Pro Tools First M-Audio Edition. That's where you get started downloading those things, as well as these three of the plugins that I mentioned earlier. I also want to bring up the fact that 4 of the plugins that they offer are only available when you download the Pro Tools First M-Audio Edition. So to get the full package, you do need to download this starter version of Pro Tools for those plugins. And the other 3 are standalone plugins here. Also, I wanted to mention you do need the Oxygen Pro editor for your particular keyboard. So I downloaded the 49 editor, and if you don't see these downloads, just go to this gear, the settings, make sure that Show Advanced Software is checked. Then you'll have access to these downloads as well. And one thing I didn't mention in my opening, the MPC Beats does come with 7 additional expansion packets, and those are installed here. As you can see, I have downloaded those, as well as the MPC Beats and the Ableton Live Lite 11, because I really want to get to know those two DAWs over time. I will do probably once I get to know those DAWs, I will do some videos on those. Down the road, I am definitely going to do a deep dive into all 7 of the virtual instruments that come with this keyboard. I think it'd be fun and good for me to actually do a deep dive and really dissect each and every one and then share that with you. All right, another thing that you need to do that's very important before we go any further to make sure it works with your computer is to set it to either Mac or PC to make sure that these buttons and faders and pads will be mapped correctly. So to do that, select Global. So that's on the bottom of this button. So I'm going to press Shift and Global and turn the selector until you get to PC, and underneath it'll say Windows or Mac. In this case, I'm choosing Mac. I'm pressing the Enter button, push to enter. You'll select Back to get out of the global selections. One other thing you have to do before this is going to play correctly in your DAW is set up the MIDI peripherals. Go to Setup, Peripherals, the MIDI controllers. In the type, if you look at the scroll down menu, don't choose M Audio Keyboard. Choose HUI. I know that's a bit confusing, but I tried the MIDI keyboard and this just didn't work. But HUI does work to mapping out everything correctly. And you want to change Receive From. So I chose the Oxygen Pro 49 Mackie HUI, and that works for me. And also here as well on the Send To, and then keep the channels to 8. And that worked for me, so that will work for you as well. If you're using a different DAW, I'm sorry I can't really help you there. Just a little bit of trial and error, and you'll be fine. Okay, so on the back of the unit is the on and off switch. There's also a place to plug in a foot pedal for sustain. There's the outlet for the USB port. You plug that in on this end, and the other end goes into the computer. Next is the MIDI out, where you can control another MIDI keyboard from this keyboard. And then after that is a lock port for security if you wanted to lock up your keyboard. All right, so once you have your keyboard plugged into your computer, turn on your DAW. In my case, it's Pro Tools. Now, I want to make sure the keyboard is set to the correct DAW. So there's the DAW button. You want to press that, hold that down. The first one is Pro Tools, MPC, Ableton, Studio, Reason, Cubase, Logic, Bitwig, GarageBand, Reaper, FL Studio, and there's a user DAW that you can customize in the preset editor. So I'm going back to Pro Tools. Now, if I press the preset button and hold it down, I can edit the preset. And what that does is it gives you control of the plugins. You can use the plugins in your DAW as a plugin or as standalone, and they all have their own unique mapping on the keyboard, so you can still control the plugins with the keyboard in standalone mode or in your DAW. So you can control all of the plugins, for example, MPC, Hybrid, the Mini Grand, Velvet, Expand 2, Vacuum, the Boom drum machine, and the DB33 classic organ. And then we have presets 9 through 16. So it gives you 7 different opportunities to map out your own customized presets on the keyboard. Now I just want to set this back to expand because I'm using Expand in Pro Tools, and I'm going to press the back button. Now I want to control the DAW with the keyboard, so I'm going to toggle back with the DAW button. And now you can see that the faders are controlling the faders in Pro Tools 1 through 9, and if I had more faders I would toggle through the banks using these buttons. Also, you'll notice that these knobs are controlling the panning of the faders as well. Now that's a mono fader. Number 2 is a stereo track. So in this position it controls the left, and when you want to control the right you press Shift, and it now controls the right panning knob on a stereo track. Now these buttons control the transport section of your DAW, which is this. You can play, stop, record. So this is a very nice feature that comes with the Oxygen Pro 49 and the 61. You can control all of these functions on a single track: record, select, mute, solo, and the MIDI window. For example, if I wanted to control a track from this keyboard, I would first press the mode button, and now I can record ready any track. So I want to record ready track 2. Now if I wanted to select a track from the keyboard, I would press select, and I can select any of the tracks from these buttons. For example, I will select track 1, track 2, track 3, and you can see it happening on the DAW. Now I'm going to go back to track 2. I can mute this track again by pressing this button, selecting mute, and I can mute any of the tracks by using this button. For example, if I mute track 2, I can unmute it from here, and I can solo it as well if I'd like to do that. And I can look at the MIDI window, but I don't have a MIDI window on that track yet. Also, these 2 buttons, which I use quite a bit, allow you to toggle between your edit window and your mix window. So now track 2 is in record ready, and I'm just going to throw down a little bit of MIDI for an example. So I'm going to record ready the track, press play to start recording. Okay, and we can stop. And let's say I wanted to redo that I didn't like it. We have an undo button here that we can get to by pressing the Shift button and pressing undo. Okay, so the undo button is very useful. There's also view, quantize, and save. I think save would be very useful as well. You would obviously press Shift to get to any of those functions on these pads. Obviously these pads are velocity sensitive and meant for beats and drums and triggering samples, particularly in the MPC Beats plugin. So let's go down to this end of the keyboard. It obviously has the basic functions of a MIDI keyboard, like the pitch wheel, the modulation wheel, the octave transpose. It also has an arpeggiator. You can control the tempo by this button. Just tap out the tempo that you want, and the keyboard will sense that and change the tempo accordingly. Now the arpeggiator can be edited by holding down the Shift button because we want to access edit. Now here you can see in the display window the different types of arpeggiator. So this is up. I'm going to hold one note down and press another note, and it's going to go up to that note back and forth. Or if I had 3 notes pressed, it would go up the 3 notes. The next one is down, so it's going to go down the 3 notes. Next one is INCL. I don't know what that means, but I'll demonstrate it anyway. Sounds like they have 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom there. The next one is EXCL. Sounds like it's back and forth. The next one is order, and that's in the order that you press them. So if I press this, this, and this, so it goes in the order that you actually press the keys. And then they have random. Okay, chord. And in order to do this, I'm going to change the plugin. Okay, I've changed that to the gospel organ. Let's see what that sounds like. So it's going to repeat all the notes at the same time, so you can do chords. So another feature of the arpeggiator is latch. We can actually latch so it holds the note down until you press a different note. Now I'll quickly go over the smart chord and the smart scale features as well. What these do is it keeps all of the notes that you're playing, whether it's a single note or a chord, depending on which one you choose. But for example, if I chose chord and put this in the key of C major, it's only going to play chords that are in the C major scale. So if you're writing a song and don't have a lot of experience on a keyboard or a piano, you could easily write a song just by holding down one note. So we're in the key of C, and I can change that by pressing this button and scrolling through, but I'm going to go back to C because it's the easiest. And you can see the chord type is minor. If I wanted to change that, I would press enter, and let's change that to major. So now everything we play is going to be in C major. For example, the first chord is C major. The next one would be a D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor. And this is like B suspended 7 or 9, I don't know. And then the next one is obviously a C major. Okay, and that's how that works, and you can choose the different modes. They're all there for you. Okay, so let's play with the scale now, and let's edit this. It's in the key of C. It's in C minor. Let's change that to C major. Now, of course, those are all correct, but if you go to the black keys, they've slid them one way or the other, so you can't play an incorrect note in C major, and that goes with all of the different modes. Now, the preset editor allows you to make changes to your presets on your computer screen rather than on this little screen on the keyboard. Makes it much easier. It does allow you to do your presets. It allows you to make changes to your DAW presets, and also allows you to make changes to the MIDI channels, the pad sensitivities, the chord mode, all of these parameters here can be changed under global. So I'm going to leave everything alone, but I am going to do deep dive videos featuring all of the plugins that come with this, and perhaps I'd want to make some changes on the parameters there, so we'll see. So I hope this was helpful and informative. I'm enjoying this keyboard now. I've had it for a few weeks, and I know it's going to be an important part of my studio setup now. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed the content, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care.